Now, live in HD, the 7 a.m. News Hour on Fox 22 with Clay Gordon and Kristen Hosfeld.
Good morning, Maine. I'm Clay Gordon. Kristen Hosfeld has the morning off. Merry Christmas, and here's what we have for you today. Tens of thousands of Mainers are without power this morning, and icy tree limbs knocking down power lines across the state. Utility companies now have a ballpark of when it will be back up and running. Plus, we are learning new information regarding a fatal accident after a car collided with a pedestrian over the weekend. And breaking news this morning, we have received word that St. Nick and his reindeer may have entered the country, or may be entering the country, starting around 6 p.m. tonight. It looks like they have an escort there. All that and more local news is on the way, but first here's meteorologist Jim Dickey with your forecast.
The ice finally moving out of here, but a cold one here for this Christmas Eve today. Your AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by the Henrys, Bridal Boutique, and Fullmoware. 31 Washington Street, Penobscot Plaza, Bangor. For weddings, proms, or any formal occasion, be sure you stop in and see the Henrys. Taking a look at the radar imagery again, there goes our system moving offshore, finally taking that freezing rain with it that came down heavily through much of the day on our Monday. Some spots along the coast, more than half an inch of ice piling up. That led to power outages throughout the day. Now, again, good news is that has moved out, and we stay fairly quiet as we head forward, really right on through the upcoming weekend. But a cold air mass has settled in. These next 48 hours are going to be downright frigid as Arctic air returns out of the north and west. The jet stream diving southward, allowing that cold to move in out of Canada. But we do keep it dry as well. So stepping on across the region today, again, quite cold, only at 20 in Calais, 23 in Machias with some sunshine, holding in the low 20s, Bar Harbor, Ellsworth, on into Belfast. We will keep it at 20 in Skowhegan, 23 with sunshine, Waterville and Augusta. And we'll keep it at 16. Cold day in Dexter, 19 in Pittsfield, 18 in Lincoln. Fairly breezy here today as well, so making it feel even colder than that when you factor in wind chill values. Many spots sub-zero wind chills through the day. Certainly Greenville, only at 10 for the high. We only managed 19 here in Bangor. Stray flurry can't be ruled out, especially early on, but mainly a dry and sunny day. Overnight, down to 0. The skies clear out here and a bit breezy. That'll make it feel even that much colder, but sort of a saving grace with those breezy conditions. Keeps it from perhaps falling off as low as it could as it mixes up the atmosphere a bit. Your marine forecast. The small craft advisory is in effect through these afternoon hours. Winds stream out of the north, 15 to 20 knots. Waves 4 to 5 feet. Now step on through your exclusive AccuWeather 5-day forecast. Cold Christmas on Wednesday, 14, but not as cold overnight as relative warmth is pushing back in. Snow showers with that on Thursday, periods of lighter snow. Sunny skies Friday, Saturday, Sunday, keeping it fairly quiet all in all.
Thank you, Jim. Tens of thousands of Mainers are in the dark at this hour. Crews continuing to plug away at sprawling outages. Andrew Scheinthal has a look now at how Monday unfolded across the area.
Slick roads, flags as stiff as popsicles, and frozen tree limbs dangling feet from the ground as Mainers underwent another day of ice.
I can tell you it's a mess.
Some streets like skating rinks, drivers struggling to maintain control.
It's wreaking havoc on the roadways for drivers, police departments, fire departments, and emergency medical personnel.
Power knocked out to tens of thousands.
The weight of the rain, the freezing rain, pulled a live power line down.
The storm keeping state and municipal crews working around the clock and washing away holiday plans for many.
We have employees who are delaying vacation time for the holiday so that they themselves can be here and be a part of the process to get things restored.
As for how long until power is restored, well, that likely depends on where you live.
Getting out to some of those outlying areas is a challenge for us.
The ice weighing down anything it can grab onto, this homeowner, like many, in fear of a cave-in.
I was getting all the ice off the roof. I was worried about the weight on the sun ports because it's not, it's not super sturdy.
And while some braved the storm, others remained indoors. Ice-coated vehicles sure to greet those who stayed put, but don't just start chiseling away.
Turn on the rear defroster and the defroster in the windshield and just turn it on high before you scrape.
In Bangor, I'm Andrew Scheinthal for ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Hancock and Washington counties, coastal areas were the locations hardest hit through all of this. Over in Ellsworth, power was off to the city's pumping station for much of the day beginning at 2:30 a.m. Monday. Now the city has 3 standpipes, but water levels were getting low and spurring concerns. Crews having to get a generator out of Bangor. Here's City Manager Michelle Beal on how things looked yesterday.
As the day has progressed, it's gotten worse. We have down power lines, down trees, We had a situation on the Bucksport Road where one came down right in front of a car that was traveling on the Bucksport Road, and they hit it. So we're actually asking people to just get off the road now, let us get out and try to clear some of these trees.
Now, as of 4 a.m., Bangor Hydro reporting over 30,000 customers without power. Areas of particular note: Bangor, Old Town, Ellsworth, Blue Hill, Harrington, and Cherryfield. Meanwhile, Central Maine Power reports about 76,000. Kennebunk County accounting for 31,000 alone. And emergency shelters are open in Belfast at the Troy Howard Middle School, in Calais at Washington County Community College. And we have new information this morning on a Bangor dragging death. Police have released the names of those involved in Saturday's accident. The victim has been identified as 43-year-old Larry Furbush, who is an area transient. The driver of the vehicle is 48-year-old Darren Matheson of New Brunswick. Authorities say Matheson hit Furbush on Vermont Avenue without realizing the impact, then proceeded to drag Furbush to the Union Street, Hannaford. It was there that Matheson discovered the body. Investigators say weather conditions, poor visibility, and Furbush's dark clothing were all factors. Police also say so far there's no indication that Matheson was under the influence, but toxicology tests are pending. No charges have been filed at this point. The Bangor man accused in the strangling death of his ex-girlfriend is expected to be arraigned next week. 21-year-old Zachary Maylou is scheduled to appear at the Penobscot Judicial Center in Bangor on January 2nd. He's expected to plead not guilty to kidnapping, gross sexual assault, and murder charges. He's accused of raping and strangling 21-year-old Brooke Locke of Auburn. The Hudson University student lived in an Essex Street apartment with her accused killer. Now, if convicted, Maylou faces life in prison. The trial schedule is now set for a homeless man accused of committing a 1976 homicide. A Superior Court judge in Augusta has decided the murder trial of 65-year-old Gary Robb will begin in late May or early June. In 2012, Robb was arrested in Seattle, Washington in connection with the death of Blanche Kimball 37 years ago. Kimball was found stabbed in her Augusta home. Prosecutors say Robb had rented a room from Kimball and that his blood was found in her kitchen. Robb has since pled not guilty. A Bangor man is accused of using some stolen keys to burglarize an office building. Police say a business on Park Street was broken into early Friday. When employees arrived, they discovered a lockbox had been ripped from a wall and a security camera was missing. They also found a pink toolbox. The crook was already gone by the time police arrived, but they soon encountered 26-year-old Nicholas Hamilton reportedly acting erratically on Center Street. Officers say Hamilton was also carrying the stolen lockbox, security camera, and a pink hammer. He's now charged with burglary, unlawful possession of drugs, and other crimes. Well, Monday's deadline for thousands of Mainers and millions of Americans to sign up for health insurance through the Affordable Care Act has been extended to today. Although today is the last day nationwide to enroll in order to have insurance coverage by January 1st. For one of the main base online plans, the deadline is even further out.
One of the insurances through the marketplace, Maine Community Health Options, has just extended the deadline for people wanting coverage January 1st to actually December 31st.
Meanwhile, for everyone else, those who sign up after January 1st will have to wait a month longer for coverage to begin. Mainers' personal incomes continue to rise, strongly positioning the state regionally and nationally. That according to figures just released by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. From the second to third quarter of 2013, personal incomes in the Pine Tree State rose 1.1%. In New England, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island saw identical growth. Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont lagged behind. Maine's performance also earned it a 17th national ranking. State economist Amanda Rector says income growth is a sign Maine's economy continues to improve. Over the past 2 years, Maine has seen gains in 7 of 8 quarters. And utility companies now say some Mainers won't see their power restored until Friday. More than 100,000 were without power during peak outages Monday. Line crews have been fighting a losing battle in the wake of devastating ice storms. Emergency shelters have been opened across the state and the Red Cross is responding. Police are being warned not to use generators or camp stoves indoors because of the danger of carbon monoxide poisoning. And still to come here this morning, as a family fights to keep a teenager on life support, an independent expert will testify on whether the 13-year-old girl is indeed brain dead after having her tonsils removed. That story is next, but first another quick check of the forecast. Colder with clouds giving way to some sun today, high in the mid to lower 20s. Sunny but frigid weather tomorrow in our area, possible flurries as early as Thursday. And we'll be back. We'll go back. A devastating story now we want to bring you this morning. A family fighting to keep a teenage girl on life support faces a big day. The 13-year-old is reportedly brain dead after having her tonsils removed. Andrew Spencer reports an independent expert is expected to testify in a closed hearing Tuesday, which could decide the girl's fate.
Between the marches and the vigils,
pray that you would look upon this hospital.
The community is rallied around Jahai McMath's mother, who says doctors at Children's Hospital in Oakland are trying to pull the plug on her daughter.
They haven't even given me a reason for her bleeding. They haven't given me a reason that they couldn't stop the bleeding. Only thing that they keep pushing for me is to get her off of their ventilator.
13-year-old Jahai McMath has been on life support since December 12th. She went into cardiac arrest after having surgery to treat her sleep apnea.
It was the result of her very complex surgery.
It's a tonsillectomy, right?
It was much more complicated than a tonsillectomy, although that was part of the surgery.
A judge on Friday blocked the hospital from taking Jahai off life support until an independent neurologist could evaluate her.
I don't know what the outcome will be when this next doctor looks at her. Like I said, I'm not God, I don't know.
She says the respirator shows Jahai has at least tried to take some of her own breaths.
They told me without a brain, you can't take your own breath. Well, she's trying, so it's something in there that's working.
Whatever the independent expert decides, Jahai's mother says she will not stop fighting.
The doctors think they know everything, but if they knew everything, then my daughter wouldn't be brain dead right now.
Right.
I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
And the hospital says they have a responsibility not to give the family false hope and express deep sympathy for Jahai's family. Now, in lighter news this morning, 2 soldiers have been reunited with their children for the holidays. The mother and father surprised their kids during a Christmas show in Massachusetts on Sunday. Liam Martin reports.
It began like any other Christmas show, with music and kids excited about Santa. But waiting in the wings of this school, 2 soldiers who haven't seen their kids in 6 months.
Just anxious to see them. Give them hugs, kisses, hold them.
Super excited. It's been a long time. Like you said, the biggest thing is I can't wait to give them huge hugs. You know, we talk to them through FaceTime, but FaceTime, it's great, but it's not the same as being there.
Douglas and Melissa Vallant are both in the Army. It's been a long wait to see their 8-year-old James and 3-year-old Ariana. So they and the Methuen Community Kindergarten conspired together to surprise them.
We have a little personal bet on who's going to cry first and how the kids are going to actually react.
After Santa had come in, the 2 kids sang, "I'll Have a Blue Christmas Without You." They thought it was being recorded to send to their parents. And then, the big reveal.
You miss your kids like crazy. You never really understand until they're gone, and you feel it. It's hard.
I was like super surprised. This is gonna be the best Christmas ever. My wish came true. I wanted Daddy and Melissa to come and have holly jolly Christmas with me.
What a remarkable story there. Well, the White House is facing international pressure following reports that emails of world leaders were intercepted by the NSA, including our closest ally in the Mideast. James Rosen reports on the international blowback.
Israel's top officials vowed to investigate reports that the National Security Agency and its British counterpart in 2009 targeted for surveillance an email account used by Israel's then Prime Minister Ehud Olmert.
In the close ties between Israel and the United States, there are things that must not be done and that are not acceptable to us.
Olmert has since said he did not use the email account in question to transmit sensitive data. But the revelation now adds Israel, America's closest ally in the volatile Mideast, to the long list of nations that are either outraged or professing outrage over NSA's overseas operations. President Obama is using his Hawaiian getaway to draft reforms for NSA based on recommendations from his own advisory panel. One of those recommendations is that he forbid the NSA from continuing to harvest telephone metadata, information like numbers dialed and length of calls for virtually every telephone in the country, and instead require the agency, if it needs such data from phone companies in the future, to obtain warrants. In the past, Mr. Obama has claimed the so-called Section 215 program has disrupted terrorist attacks.
The president agrees with General Alexander, the head of the NSA, who spoke yesterday on Capitol Hill about the programs under Sections 215 and 702 and how they have helped thwart dozens of attacks.
But in calling for the program to be reformed, a leading member of the president's panel said on Sunday it has not played a significant role in stopping terrorist attacks in the United States, and suggested administration officials, including the president, have exaggerated the program's usefulness.
Because this program remains important, okay, perhaps not as important as some have said, but because it remains important, it's important for the government to continue to be able to query this data.
On Friday, President Obama sidestepped a question about whether ex-NSA contractor Edward Snowden, whose leaks of classified documents broke the NSA story in June, should be granted amnesty if he's willing to return from Russia and cooperate with authorities to prevent additional disclosure. National Security Advisor Susan Rice, appearing on 60 Minutes, slammed the door shut on that idea.
We don't think that Snowden deserves amnesty. We believe he should come back, he should be sent back, and he should have his day in court.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Patrick Leahy, Democrat of Vermont, told NBC News this weekend his panel will hold hearings on NSA reform early in the new year. In Washington, James Rosen, Fox News.
And still to come here this morning, our Aaron Jackson reports on a new recruit possibly coming to the University of Maine football team. He's up after the break, but first, here's what's going on near you. Welcome back. Portland native Ryan Reed is changing teams. The relief pitcher, most recently with the Pittsburgh Pirates, has been claimed by the New York Mets. And Boston Bruins in action last night down in the Music City. Bruins taking on the Predators. Zdeno Chara is going to fire a shot to the front of the net here, and Jerome Iginla is going to tip it in. Let's take one more quick look at it. Iginla, he's going to wrap around the net and gets the tip in. Bruins up 1-0. Later in the first period, same score. Carl Soderberg fires a shot from the center ice. The rebound bounces right in front to Matt Fraser, who scores with the wrister top shelf, puts the Bruins up 2-0. Well, great puck movement leads to a really nice look for Riley Smith, and he knocks home the wrister. We'll take another quick look. Soderberg sets up Smith with the goal. Bruins up 3-0. Then Krejci crosses it over to Iginla, who punches it in for the goal. Let's take a look at the replay. Krejci with a nice pass sets up Iginla for the score. Bruins go on to win this one 6-2. Our Aaron Jackson is in now with the latest in sports.
I'm beginning to sound a little bit like a broken record with this, but all high school games once again postponed yesterday because of the inclement weather. We're going to have an issue with those games as they get rescheduled throughout the year. Maine football may have a new recruit coming to the program. Carlin Quiller, a wide receiver from Pennsylvania, has verbally committed to UMaine. Now, that's not to say he's definitely with the program. They cannot comment on verbal commitments until they are officially signed, which he is not. The earliest that could happen would be this spring on National Signing Day. Maine hockey players getting a chance to spend time with their families over the holidays. They play in the Florida College Classic this upcoming weekend, but were able to go home late last week. Coach Red Gendron's schedule not so easy. He was off recruiting last weekend, but does have some free time.
I'll spend a few days with our daughters down in Massachusetts and Connecticut. And then on Christmas Day, I'll drive back here so I can get on a plane and travel with the team to Florida so we can play on the 28th against Princeton.
Patriots clinched their spot atop the AFC East and into the playoffs in convincing fashion Sunday, 41-7 over the defending Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens.
That was pretty sweet. So, they're a good team and they play well at home. So we've been talking about playing better on the road, and, we made a bunch of plays, especially on defense and special teams. So we got off to a better start, and then, the defense just played great. So it was a great win.
Really proud of the way that they played, the way that they competed. Being able to finish and play 60 minutes is good. It's something that we need to obviously do more of.
Former Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez back in court for another pretrial hearing today. His attorneys are claiming that the prosecution is leaking information to the media that could jeopardize Hernandez's right to a fair trial. Because of this, both sides have agreed to a gag order, the specifics of which are to be determined after both sides submit proposals. He has pled not guilty to the June shooting death of 27-year-old Odin Lloyd. It's unclear at this time when he'll be back in court. And back to those still playing in the NFL, a number of big injuries after this weekend, the most important to Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo. He could miss the rest of the season because of a back injury. That's according to ESPN. Patriots also unable to avoid the injury bug. Devin McCourty went down. He suffered what's being called a head injury against the Ravens and was unable to return to the game. You see it right there. He's a little woozy after that hit. And finally, Broncos linebacker Von Miller done for the year. He tore his right ACL in their win over the Texans. So certainly a defense that struggled at times, the Denver Broncos, that is a big blow to them and a big blow to the Patriots as well if Devin McCourty misses some time. Back to you guys on the desk.
Thank you, Aaron, for that. And you know that ice storm we had yesterday? Well, I know it's not as big as 1998. I know this. But when you're outside later scraping the ice off your car, think back to this video. That's President Obama right here. He's on vacation right now, spending time in Hawaii as he's at the Mid-Pacific Country Club. He was playing with longtime aide Marvin Nicholson and two of his friends. According to the reports, this is his 145th round of golf he has played since taking office back in 2009. Hitting the links. Well, now here's meteorologist Jim Dickey with a look at today's weather forecast.
The ice storm is finally over here. System departing quiet here today, but keeping it quite cold. Your accurate weather forecast is brought to you by the Henry's, Brada Boutique, and Formal Wear. 31 Washington Street, Penobscot Plaza, Bangor. For weddings, proms, or any formal occasion, be sure you stop in and see the Henry's. Again, our storm departing, a fairly quiet Christmas Eve expected across the region today, but colder air is moving in out of the north and west. Again, there goes the freezing rain. Still some light freezing drizzle, some snow showers early on, especially down east, but nothing like what we saw yesterday. Many spots, especially along the coast, where it came down heavy, at times over a half of inch of ice, and that led to some power outages, certainly some issues on the roadways. Now, good news is, again, that is gone. Colder air moving in behind it, turning much colder across the board here today as Arctic air dives in out of the north and west. These next 48 hours going to be downright frigid. So we step across the region. Cold Christmas Eve, 22 into Woodland, only at 20 in Calais, 23 for Eastport, Machias. And when you factor in the winds, feeling even colder than this, wind chill values in the single digits and sub-zero wind chills in many locations. In fact, 20 into Skowhegan. We'll keep it at 16 in Dexter, only at 18 with sunshine on into Lincoln, held at 10 in Greenville, only managing 15 in Dover, Foxcroft. 19 here in Bangor, again a good deal colder, and a stray flurry can't be ruled out, especially early on in the day as that storm continues to pull its way out to sea. Overnight, we dip down to 0, just a couple clouds in place. On into your marine forecast, a small craft advisory is in effect through the afternoon hours. Winds stream out of the north 15 to 20 knots. Step on through your exclusive AccuWeather 5-day forecast. Cold Christmas expected tomorrow, only at 14. Overnight down to 8. Some light snow spreads in on Thursday. Accumulations fairly negligible with that, just a nuisance, perhaps a fresh coating. Sunny skies on Friday, and temperatures have rebounded here, back around 30. Keep it there on Saturday, warm 34 on Sunday, but then Arctic air returns back down to 5 overnight.
Welcome back. Listen up, kiddos. With just hours to go before Christmas Eve, Santa has gotten the all clear for entry to the United States. The Department of Agriculture says St. Nick and his reindeer may enter the country over any northern border ports starting at 6 p.m. tonight. The agency has waived the disease testing requirement typically in place for bringing livestock across the border. Officials say Santa's reindeer have been found to be healthy and are able to prance and paw with each hoof. But there are some stipulations to their arrival to the United States. The reindeer must answer to the names Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, and of course Rudolph, and must never have been fed anything other than hay, sugar plums, and gingerbread. I wish I could have that diet too, except for the hay part. Go to bed early tonight, kids. Still to come on the next half hour on Fox 22, a group of local students have been accepted into the largest arts festival in the entire world. That and more local news when we return, and we'll be right back.